What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of the PSN Party Podcast. I am your host, BMG, and I am joined by my co-host, Sentinel17. Sentinel, how are you this evening, sir?
I am great, very great. Thank you for asking, BMG.
Good. Glad to have you as my wingman as always. And our very special guest from Green Pass Gaming, Luke Steele. How are you this evening, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. Yeah, very happy to be here, and we've got many topics, so we'll have some fun.
Oh yes, and yes, makes a change to be on a PlayStation podcast instead of Xbox.
I know. I think this is the first time I've ever been on a PlayStation-centric podcast. Feels good. Feels right.
That's right. we can stick it to the CMA deal and acquisition and everything. You can say all them things you've been holding back.
Yeah. I can show my true blue.
That's it. No. That is it. Good. Well, a little bit of housekeeping before we get into anything. We are on our way to 1,000 subscribers, and once we hit that 1,000 subscribers, we are giving away a copy of God of War Ragnarok. So if you like what you see, like the content we've got, like, share, subscribe. Once we get there, we'll be having a live show and giving all that game as well as many other codes for different games, you know, on a live show, and hopefully you can all be a part of that. Tonight's topics include Assassin's Creed Valhalla's DLC detailed, even though now it's been released. Future DC games will be connected to the universe. Sifu's got a big update. And the DualSense Edge can now be pre-ordered. But before we get into all that, what's everyone been playing this evening? Luke Steele, I shall come to you first, sir, as you are our guest.
Yeah, this evening or recently? This evening, nothing. Recently, loads of different bits. So, like, still playing Ragnarok, like the side stuff. I want to do all the Berserkers and some other bits as well. So, still enjoying that. I've played, and the last few days I've been so busy at work, so I haven't had a chance to play a lot. But anytime I want to play something, the thing that I always pick up is Vampire Survivors. So particularly on the Steam Deck, because it's just obviously it's a really good thing just to have and just to be able to, like, it's like the perfect game for that device, I think, or any handheld device really. So really enjoying that. So I think I put like maybe 15 total hours into that game. Still loads to unlock, but it's really great. So been doing that. What else have I been playing? A little bit of Splatoon 3 as well. Now and then. Again, that's quite a good game to pick up and play. And I am gonna go and try Darktide, which released today, I think, on Game Pass. So I'm just downloading
PC only?
that. You know, I don't actually know. I don't know. I think it releases initially on PC only, and then it is coming to Xbox. But I think today is just the PC release.
Right.
Could be wrong on that. But it's probably good that it is, because apparently the PC version's really demanding / not well optimized. So. Yeah, maybe they're going to take a bit of time to work out the console kinks.
Yeah, I think it was the Game Pass PC. It's just dropped on. I remember seeing some pop on
there.
Twitter.
Yeah, so yeah, going to check that out, and then that's it. And then there's a couple of Callisto Protocol out on Friday, and Midnight Suns as well, both of which I really want to get. So many things to play at the minute.
Yeah. Too much. It's gone through a bit of a quiet lull to too many games coming to the end of the year, but better to have too much than not enough, I suppose.
Oh yeah.
Sentinel, sir, what have you been playing recently?
I have been playing a lot of Vampire Survivors, to be honest.
Right.
You know, and I mean, it's one of those games that I didn't originally have on my radar. And everyone was talking about how addictive it is. And, you have to play it. And I said, all right, fine. I'll check it out. And they were absolutely right. It's insane how addictive this game is. And, it's like I go back and forth pretty much between 3 games right now. House Flipper obviously is my go-to for a lot of my live streams. I picked up the DLC, the Luxury Flipper, so I'll be putting that in my live streams. But, of course, Halo Infinite, the multiplayer, I've been going back to that. And then, of course, Vampire Survivors. And that's pretty much been dominating all my time. I haven't been playing anything else.
Ah, good. Yeah, again, it's not a game I've actually played yet. I keep seeing everyone raving about Vampire Survivors, how addictive it is. Once you pick it up, you can't put it down. But I keep looking at it thinking, just really doesn't look like my type of game. So I'm two minds whether to try it or not.
Stubbs actually makes a guest appearance as Poe in Vampire Survivors.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, it's worth playing then just to see that, I suppose. Definitely.
Yeah.
What have I been playing? Pretty much just still trying to make my way through God of War Ragnarok. I'm about 18 hours in now, so feeling how the game's playing. I think I'm coming sort of towards the back end of the game. There still feels like there's so much more to happen, but when you kind of get that feeling that things are slowly starting to get to that end game. So I think I'm starting to get there, but yeah, other than that, it's all I've been playing. It's trying to get gaming in as life's busy, trying to do stuff and play games as well. It's just not always as easy, but yeah, that's pretty much it for me. And it's such a phenomenal game. I can't wait to get to the end to finish it, but I also don't want it to end because of how amazing the game is and the characters, the story. It's like I think subconsciously I'm dragging it out just to keep it alive, keep it going. But I've got that much to play, that much is ready to go. I've got Battlefield 2042 I want to touch at some point, hopefully before Christmas. But we will be going on break soon, so hopefully that'll give me time to get these games out instead of doing like 4 shows a week. But we'll see. Right, let's move on. Let's get into some topics. Our first topic is from Kermin Dugan Kakarok. I do apologise if I butchered your name. It's kind of a thing here. I cannot pronounce names to save my life. Over at DualShockers, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, the last chapter DLC, reveals how players can access the upcoming expansion and what it entails. But since picking this article, it has already came out a week early. So if there was anybody waiting on that and didn't hear the news, you can now actually access this DLC. But we'll go into what it's revealed and what it's shown. A new trailer from Ubisoft has revealed how players can conclude their journey in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. With the upcoming final expansion, the last chapter, the new video explains exactly which parts of the game need to be completed before players can get started with the final major DLC, which will wrap up Eivor's story and complete the game's storyline when it releases on December 6th. But as it was announced, it's come out a week early, so it is out now. And there's also the rumor that Assassin's Creed Valhalla could be coming to Xbox Game Pass towards the end of December, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. So, did anyone play Assassin's Creed Valhalla? Have you done the DLC? And are you going to be diving into this expansion? Luke, I'll come to you first.
I did play some Valhalla. Well, I played about 30 hours, roughly. And then I just dropped off. It's just it's too big, like, for me. Like this it's too long, and insert like double entendre here, but it just like the scope of that game is really cool and it's really impressive. And I think if you buy it, then you get really good value in terms of the playtime. But I just don't have time to play those types of games anymore, because really, I mean, my wife completed Valhalla, and I think her playthrough is like 68 hours or something, and she didn't really do that many side quest stuff, which shows you just like that's just way too long for me. I'm just not gonna play that. Yeah, and that's kind of emblematic of most modern Assassin's Creed for me. They're just like this. The scale of them is just ridiculous. So that's all I've played, and I haven't played any of the DLC, even though a lot of it looks really cool, actually. And maybe if the main game wasn't so vast, I would have probably got into the DLC. I think this one looks quite good, because I think, isn't this one intended to set up Mirage? Like, that's the point of it, to set up the next game.
Yeah.
And Mirage is actually the one that I'm really interested in, because that's effectively back to original Assassin's Creed 2 type game, much more self-contained, not really an open world in the same way. So I'm actually quite excited about that one. So I think this is really cool, and fair play to how well this game's been supported as well. I think, like, if you love Valhalla, then you've had all this content, like, I think that's really, really cool. Obviously, you have to pay for it, but it's still really, really good that it's out there, and that they're, it's that popular that they're still making stuff. So I think for people who enjoyed the base game, the DLC's been really cool, and this one looks cool as well.
Yeah, like I said, I have done Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I have done the main story, but I've always been one of them. When it comes to like DLCs and expansions, I tend to not bother, because I think, they've told the story they wanted to tell in that main game, and all the other stuff just seems to be little bits of extra to give you a bit of insight and stuff. And I kind of think, well, no, time's limited, time's precious. I kind of want to move on to the next thing. I think Redders has got something like 200 plus hours in Assassin's Creed, and even though he won't be overly happy that he's now going to jump back in to get these extra achievements, trophies, and all that for this DLC, but he'll do it. He'll protest, but he'll do it. So we'll see what happens there. I did miss out. Sorry, Sentinel, before I come to you. It's only because the bit of the article missed off. How to access the DLC. Let me just find it, because for some reason my phone is just sending everything everywhere. Right. So to be able to access the DLC, players need to have completed the main storyline of the game, the region story arcs, including Hamptonshire, and the mythological tales revolving around Asgard in Jotunheim. The video then elaborates on how to make sure that no story arcs are waiting to be completed. For that, players will need to refer to Ravandi and their alliance map, both located in the clan's Ravenscope settlement. Those who would like to bid farewell to Ava will have to venture into Asgard and make sure the mythological story arc on Jotunheim is complete as well. Gaining access to Asgard requires the Seer Hut. I think, that's that lady that kind of like drugs you and sends you on like a quest, into Asgard, which can only be built when the settlement reaches level 3. The advancements in Ravenscope will also allow players to conclude Eivor's saga. This is because it is not possible to gain access to Viking's final memories without building the Joms Viking Barracks. Again, butchering the name, I do apologise, which is unlocked when the settlement reaches level 5. If you've got people that just want to jump in and just jump straight to the DLC, or, if they want to complete the game and then got rid of the save or whatever, you would have to actually have the game completed and your settlement leveled up to level 5 to access that. Sentinel, what about yourself? Are you a fan of Assassin's Creed Valhalla? Did you play it? Did you complete it?
I mean, I did pre-order it. I pretty much pre-order every Assassin's Creed that comes out. It's been like that since Assassin's Creed Unity, and I'm pretty much on board with everything Luke said about it. I played it for 30 hours. I lost interest. And you know what? It's like it is the scope of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, just because, like, I loved Assassin's Creed Odyssey and I didn't mind too much that it was 100 hours, but that's also because I love, Greek mythology and just the feel of ancient Greece. So to have that world as 100 hours, it wasn't that bad. But, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, if it would have been like 30 hours long, I would have been good to go, but it wasn't. It was huge. And I was just, after that amount of time, I was kind of like, I want to move on to something else. And I didn't play any of their DLC. I'm actually more interested in the new Assassin's Creed game coming up than I am going back to Valhalla and ever finishing it. And I know some people loved it, and that, that's great. Everybody likes different types of games, but I think with Valhalla, they finally got to the point where people are like, okay, we just need smaller, more tightly controlled Assassin's Creed games. Not everything has to be open world,
Yeah, I think that's it. I liked the more smaller open areas, the linear story, not some way, I did enjoy Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but I felt like the game, and I love Assassin's Creed, love all the series, but I just felt like it went on, and when you thought it was coming to the end, it was like, no, there's another 20 plus hours to go, and you're like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So that, so I won't be going back to touching any of it, because it's like, it's just too long for me. And like I say, Mirage, the same as you two, I'm very much looking forward to that. I think, if I remember rightly, it's about the same size, the actual main city that you're in is the same size of what Assassin's Creed 1 was.
Yeah.
Not just the town, the actual whole map itself.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Which is enough, that's more than enough. And hopefully, if it gets this good enough reception, if a lot of people pick it up and, it reviews well, we're probably going to see more of them in the future. I don't want every single one of them to be this big, huge RPG.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just want to get in, play, do the story, have a connection with it, and then move on, and then jump back to little bits and bats if you want to. But
and it's not even Assassin's Creed necessarily. I mean, it's like that hour length, 100 hours, 120 hours. Mass Effect, the Legendary Edition, when it came out, I played it from start to finish. It took me 120 hours. I was basically, playing as much as I could every single day. It took forever. I love the franchise, but it was exhausting. So we're kind of at that point where you can't have gamers playing something for 80, 90, 100 hours that's not multiplayer. You have to tone it down as far as how big it is. Because it's so big, it's hard to enjoy even great games like Mass Effect, because the trilogy together is so huge. You got, especially when one game is that big, you got to break it up. There's no other way, to do it.
Yeah, it's and I'm glad they decided to actually make Mirage into its standalone game instead of making it another expansion into Valhalla, because I think a lot of people will just overlook it and not gone to it. But the fact that it's a standalone game, it's got more attention. I'm hoping, I very much doubt, but I'm hoping we get a form of an announcement at the Game Awards. And if, just in case, if anyone is wondering, we are going to be doing a Game Awards watch along. So far, there is only myself and Sentinel that's willing to do it, because here in the UK it's at 12:30 in the morning on a Friday. So I'm up for, I watch it anyway. To be fair, I do watch it every year regardless. I think we live streamed it last year, but I can't remember where we live streamed it at. But yeah, definitely looking forward to doing it. I'll have plenty of energy drinks to keep me going for that 3 or 4 hours. But yeah, it should be good. But I'm hoping for an announcement. I'm hoping a bit, even if it's a gameplay trailer or something like that with a release date or a narrowed down release window, because I feel like that could be like a March-April game, somewhere around there, depending how the year gets stacked up, because obviously it seems to be late over the last few years. It's the beginning of the year that gets packed full of games, so we'll see. I'll just give a quick shout out in chat to everyone before we move on. Let me just go up my list here. Good evening, Muppet. Good evening, Mr. Auditor 96. He was the winner of Horizon Forbidden West on last week's show. Good evening, Stubbs. We've got Masuku. Good evening, sir. Fimber. Good evening. It's great to have you here, and hope you enjoy the show. Right, let's move on. Future DC games will connect to the DC universe, confirms James Gunn. This comes from Stephen Talby over at Push Square. Writer and director James Gunn has recently become top brass at new DC Studios, which means he's now jointly in charge of all future adaptations of the comic book heroes. Apparently, the plan is for most DC EU projects to fall under the same banner, much like better known the MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe. Unlike Marvel's efforts, however, it seems DC planning to include video games as well. A fan asked Gunn on Twitter whether future DC games will connect to the DCEU. He gave a straight yes. What this potentially means is that titles such as Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, and Wonder Woman may tie into the same continuity as the movies and TV shows. It's still very early to see the effects of that decision, but all it really means is future games will become part of the DCU canon. We imagine it to be similar to how Star Wars handles its web of movies, shows, and games. So, is this exciting news? Do you think it's a good thing? Do you think James Gunn's going to be able to pull it off? You know, he's done some amazing stuff with the Guardians of the Galaxy films, Guardians of the Galaxy, the game, even though obviously he didn't have any part of that, but it does feel like they took a lot of inspiration from the movies and put into the game. Do you think this is going to work? Is it somewhere that's even going to be possible with how messed up DC is? Because with all the, they've just recently been bought by Discovery. Discovery are trying to sell parts of the company off, and everything just seems to be in a bit disarray because, as I say, the films haven't really done that well. Black Adam kind of sucked from what the impression I got off everyone, that I still haven't watched yet, but with reviews, I've decided I'll hang on till it comes to streaming platforms. Luke, we'll come to you first. Can James Gunn pull it off? Can he save the DCU franchise?
I think, yeah. I mean, I think when it comes to films, he can probably do a pretty good job of that. I mean, apart from the Batman, the last kind of good DCU film was actually Suicide Squad, which he did, Suicide Squad. So I think, I don't really, it's really hard because I don't know how they do it, as you say, considering where the entire DCU is at the moment. Like it's so all over the place. There's so many different things happening. I mean, you've even got like Joker 2 coming out in a couple of years, which is just like completely different. So maybe he'll just kind of take a corner of it and go, right, this is kind of, all that other stuff is just ancillary, and this is kind of the main thing that we're building from. So if he does that, cool. It'd be interesting to see how he does that. In terms of the game element, I think it's like, I don't know if it's good that they want their games to tie into the movies, because with Star Wars, it works because you've got literally thousands of years to draw from. Like, you can just make a game in a period of time and place it somewhere in a very vast universe and go, this is kind of canon, but it doesn't really interact with anything else that's going on. It just exists in the world. I don't really think you can do that in the same way with DC, because you can't exactly go, well, here's a Batman, and also we're doing this story of another Batman elsewhere in the universe. So anything that's game related would have to kind of tie more directly in to what they're doing in the films or the TV shows or whatever. So I'm a bit skeptical about that. Like, I don't know exactly how you do that, but then we don't really know how he's going to do the whole thing. And how he's going to construct this in a similar manner to the MCU. So I think I'll wait and see, but they've needed to get someone in to really do a Kevin Feige type role for a long time.
Yeah.
It's been obvious to everyone. And if that's James Gunn, then I think that's a really, which it is, I think that's a really good choice. So I trust him to make this more enjoyable anyway, more consistent.
Yeah, I'm hoping they don't go the route of let's make the games have pretty much got to follow more in line with the films, in the sense that it's whatever the film is, the games are going to have to reflect it. We're going to have them characters. The only game that I would happily have that's connected to the films is Superman. Let's get Henry Cavill in a game. I'm all for that.
Yeah.
I'm definitely all for that. But yeah, it's not going to be easy, because like Star Wars, they pretty much writ off. They went literally all this stuff that is a legacy It's not canon. It's just something we did. This is the core story. And hopefully if James Gunn's got this where he can now, between film, TV show, and game, that he can build the universe, he can build the connection, and let him do a clean slate with it. It'd be interesting because, like I say, he's done some brilliant stuff. Like say, The Suicide Squad, absolutely amazing film, and then they did the TV show. Oh God, with John Cena in. What was it called?
Peacemaker.
What was it called? Peacemaker. That was it. I was thinking American Warrior, and I don't know why. I don't know where that come from. Peacemaker. If that, honestly, they must have just give him free reign to make that show because it is so hilarious, absolutely funny as hell. Absolutely love it because he kind of like with like sort of the music and stuff they were using felt like it got a bit of that Guardians of the Galaxy 80s power ballads vibe in it. So it'd be nice if they can connect it that way. Sentinel, what about yourself? Do you think James Gunn's going to be able to build this new universe and be the king of DC, or do you think Warner Brothers Discovery will just scrap it in the end?
I think now don't get me wrong, James Gunn, as far as movies go, comic book movies, he's a genius. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's very good at it. And I kind of feel like you can't, it's not an equal translation from video games to movies or vice versa. How many video games have we had that were based on movies that were garbage, and of course vice versa. Like Iron Man was a great movie, it just wasn't a great video game. The Hitman franchise, great games, shitty movies. So I think if he does it, it's going to be a first time. I don't think that they should tie the video games necessarily, at least not all of them. I don't think they should tie them to the movie universe. Because you look at Batman, right? The Dark Knight trilogy was good in its own right. You had Christopher Nolan and Christian Bale, and they were doing a phenomenal job pretty much handling that franchise. And that's fine for movies. But, you look at Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill in the Batman Arkham series. They were phenomenal, and it had nothing to do with the movies. And both of them succeeded in their own right. So just because they want to tie this stuff together doesn't mean it's going to work. And obviously, James Gunn knows this, but it's pretty much, one page of a script for a movie is 1 minute of film time. With a game, how many times have you heard people who put together these scripts for video games say there's like 5,000 or 10,000 pages of script because of all these different characters, these NPCs? So it's not an equal translation. And he may not realize that yet. He might. But it's going to take a lot of effort, and I just don't see it working because the mediums are so different. What I would say is you can have certain actors like Henry Cavill be Superman in a video game, but you should not allow movie people to dictate the pace or the flow or what goes into video games because they don't understand that medium, and vice versa. You can't have video game people dictating what goes into movies because a lot of times it just doesn't work.
Yeah, I suppose probably the way I would look at doing it is maybe don't have like the direct like characters in these films, in these games for a lot of them. Maybe like have a game that's a spin-off of something and then they refer to what's gone on in like movies or TV shows. So you're not directly seeing the characters, but you could also have that link there. So, like Spider-Man references the Avengers, in Spider-Man game, but 2018, was it Spider-Man? Was it 2018 Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Like just reference it in that sense, and it's not directly connecting it to movies or the Avengers video game, but it's like mentioning them that, they, even though this is where the Avengers Tower is, they're not here because they're away doing whatever. So I suppose you could kind of do it that way, and you're not overly then having to cross everything, because I think it would be a mess in the end, because literally you would have to get these different studios, different directors, different producers. Everyone's got to come together to make sure everything lines up, and to be honest, I think it'd be more of a nightmare than than anything else. But it'll be interesting to see if anyone could do it. It'll be James Gunn, because he's very good at what he does. So we'll see what he does. But sometimes, you can take on too much, think you can tackle it, and it just goes absolutely wrong direction and ruin a career. But we'll see. We'll see. Right, let's move on. Sifu's next big update lets you create your old martial arts movies. This comes from Robert Ramsey over at Push Square. Sifu is getting another significant free update in December, developed Slowclap has confirmed. The so-called full patch will add a replay editor to the game, which lets you follow, capture, and edit your gameplays. Basically, you'll be able to make your own martial arts movie, utilizing things like camera angles, effects, and cinematic flair. And it also include new character costumes for this patch. This is just a bit of a small story. I thought it was interesting. Sifu, brilliant game. Absolutely love it. It takes full advantage of the PlayStation 5 DualSense. You get literally walking out in the rain. You feel every raindrop, every hit. The adaptive triggers as you're throwing punches and kicks and stuff and hitting people with objects, you get that different resistance on connection. And I think a lot of people are going to have fun with this, being able to make your own martial arts film. I think, like Dreams was made to, build your own game and universe. I think there'll be a place for making martial arts films. It'd be better if you could have it in black and white as well. Maybe eventually add in an area where you could put it in, have it in Japanese or anything like that, just to make your own things. And I think it could be quite a hit. Has either of you played Sifu? Sentinel, I'll come to you first. Did you play Sifu? Have you seen any on it?
No, unfortunately, I haven't played it. When I do secure a PS5, I am definitely going to pick it up. I'm a big fan of classic martial arts movies, 70s throughout the 80s and the 90s. And there's it's such an interesting genre, because you have these different martial arts that all have their own superstars, that they had movies built around them, an entire movie series. You had Sonny Chiba with I think it was the Street Fighter franchise, and then of course Sister Street Fighter was a spin-off. You had Sammo Hung, which was he got introduced in the Bruce Lee movie. I believe it was Enter the Dragon, and he has tons of movies that he's made around his specific style of kung fu. And so the fact that they're implementing that in a game like Sifu, that's all about martial arts, it's so amazing. There's no words for it, because it allows you to almost create your own, homage movie to all these great kung fu and karate action movies that there have been for the past 40, 50, 60 years.
Yeah. It's just one of them. I think it's the things that they can say with Bruce Lee and stuff and that. Everyone goes back to the old martial arts films. You see them introducing all sorts of different things in the recent films. You take John Wick, the styles and fighting they use in that. I think it's something that I'd actually jump back into. I've never been one for film editing and stuff like that. It's not really my sort of thing. I don't have the software to do that. As I've said many times, my PC is a potato that runs with dust, and that is the thing that holds it together. So I'm not capable of doing anything on there. But if it's something that I can do on console, as long as it's not overly complicated, I'd probably have a play around with it, because I do own Sifu. I bought it day one, just mainly because I wanted to see what it could do with the DualSense more than anything. And that fighting, it's just so satisfying. The moves that you do, it's very authentic, and
it's like a game that it's like a type of game that they don't really. It's not I'm not going to say it's not popular, but it's not widespread right now. There's not a lot of people making these types of games that Sifu was, and it's a completely fresh take on martial arts and fighting games. I would be willing to bet that you're going to see at least 2 or 3 more games a lot like it pretty much doing the same thing Sifu is doing right now.
Yeah, they've got that cool mechanic where you every time you die, you get older and your character changes. And the idea is you want to try and complete the game as a younger age as possible. So it's quite an interesting mechanic. But I think you're going to get a lot of people jumping back in to have a play around with it and come up with some. And I think you're going to see a lot of stuff drop, especially in that YouTube Shorts, TikTok, and stuff like that. I bet you see a lot dropping on there, which will be interesting to see what people come up with. Like I said, I'm going to try and have a play around with myself. Probably just be a load of people kicking the crap out of me, but it'd be fun. It'd be fun.
Cool.
Right, let's move on. The new Lord of the Rings rights owner teases future projects. This comes from Lan Pitts over at GameSpot. The Lord of the Rings is a franchise powerhouse that's about to get even bigger. With the success of Amazon's Lord of the Rings of Power television series, Embracer Group, the new owners of Middle-earth Enterprises, has given the first hint of what they may have planned during a presentation earlier this week. Middle-earth Enterprises is the company that owns The Lord of the Rings, among other J.R.R. Tolkien titles and characters. The Swedish-based Embracer looks to move beyond television and movies and dive into games and theme park attractions. According to Variety, CEO Lars Wingfors, wouldn't get into specific details, but he revealed that he has been consulting with other film companies and business partners about the best way to develop what he describes as a world-leading fantasy IP. Embracer Group purchased Middle-earth Enterprises for an undisclosed sum from previous owner Sal Zantes Co. In October, Wigford also explained that while he's only had the franchise rights for only a couple of months, he has plans since the first day, even though he left the details a mystery. We are taking the perspective of a very long-term view. How should we, together with other stakeholders, develop this world-leading fantasy IP into the future? Gaming is one part of it, but it's too early to give colour on specific plans. I think we are still open-minded for input into that. I think there's also very interesting conversation around other media than gaming related to the IP. But unfortunately, I have to tell you, stay tuned for the future. So it wasn't really much of a mystery that they would be diving into the game side of it. Embracer, they've been buying gaming companies left, right, and centre. These smaller, developers, and it was a bit of a shock, I think, when they acquired the Lord of the Rings IP. But what sort do you think that they're going to kind of keep going down the route that the Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor have gone, or do we think we're going to maybe see a new MMO, because the other one's still going, I believe. I think Ash, I'm a Ghostbuster from XBL, still dives into it here and there. But yeah, it'd be interesting if we got like I'd like to see like a Witcher style Lord of the Rings, maybe have it just single player driven. Maybe come up with we'll probably end up with a battle royale. That's probably going to be on the cards. That'd be quite cool. Running around as everyone running around as Gollum trying to murder everyone. That'd be something different to try. But yeah, I think something like Witcher. You build your character. You've got a number of classes, and then you're pretty much on this mission. Because I don't think they're going to tie it to the films. I think it's going to have to be a full new story on its own. Maybe what happened after the trilogy, something based on then, because they keep going back and doing stuff, but I want to know where it goes after that. Does it just go boring? Everyone just lives in the Hobbit Hills and do nothing, or is a new threat that comes along? It could, there's potential to pretty much go in any other direction they want, really. Sentinel, what would you like to see in a new Lord of the Rings IP by Embracer?
I think they can make a Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor type of game, but I also think that they can make other types of experiences. There's a lot of people, and of course the Lord of the Rings franchise has a lot of people that are very almost a cult following, I guess, for this whole thing. I'm not going to say it's as big as Star Trek, but it's pretty big. Tons of people love this franchise, and I think if you had a game like an MMO, if you had the Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor and a couple other different types of games that all have their own specific focus as to what they want to achieve. I feel like that's going to be the best case scenario for something like this. And I think it would really help to strengthen the brand. It's still probably worth a lot of money to the, to the people that own the brand. And I think by having these different types of experiences is actually going to increase the value of the brand, and maybe even draw people in that weren't necessarily fans before, or people that are new to the Lord of the Rings type of content.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see what they can do, because the potential there now. They own the rights. It's pretty much they're open to do whatever they want now. They're not restricted by licenses and stuff. They've got full control of it. Literally, go mad, do what you want. Maybe they'll do something like, obviously they're talking to all these, other companies and that, and other filmmakers of what they could do with the brand. But maybe do something like they did with the Soul Reaver stuff. Where they're putting out questionnaires, like something to fill out, just to get a grasp of what gamers would like to do, what would gamers like to see, because the Shadow of War franchise, they've both games are absolutely brilliant. I did the first one, I got about 3/4 of the way through the second one, and I kind of fell off it, but that's only because on the Series X I found that it didn't seem to run very well. A constant big frame rate drops, and I thought, I'll maybe when it gets patched, if they patch it, I'll come back to it. But sadly, they haven't yet. Luke, what about yourself? What would you like to see in a new Lord of the Rings game? Can Embracer be trusted to, hold this IP up above the rest, or do you think there's going to mess it up like Saints Row?
I don't know. I don't know if I don't know what they'll do with it. It's difficult to know, because I think the problem is with Embracer, I guess, is that they don't really do anything right now that's considered, AAA. Like, it's all kind of like mid-budget games. So I think, in an ideal world, what I would like is exactly what you outlined, which is like a single-player open world RPG Lord of the Rings, because it's just like it's a fantasy world, like it's kind of perfect for that. And Tolkien's stuff has such a vast time period that you could do whenever, you know what I mean, like you could do whenever you wanted, whether that's if you wanted to do after the trilogy, which I guess you would be inventing stuff then really, but just before that, there's so much room in there to do something like that, something Witcher-esque. So I'd quite like them to do something like that, but to me that has to be something that's quite big budget, and I don't know, like, do Embracer want to do that, or do they want to kind of make these smaller games that they can kind of maximize profit out of almost? So I don't know, but I don't know if they can be trusted. Certainly I think that they will exploit it from a gaming perspective a lot more than it has been in recent years. But whether that's a good thing or not remains to be seen, because it just depends on what they do with it, really.
Yeah. I suppose where would you like it if they were going to make this single player open world RPG? Where in the timeline would you want to see it? Would you want to see a prequel, maybe go right back even before the TV show, or do you want something like where stuff's already happened or going on and we're in the middle of it, or something new, something completely in the future after all the events of the trilogy?
I think probably the best place is it's going to be a prequel, and probably even before or around the time of the Rings of Power show, where Sauron is still about, but he's not, like, he's kind of just coming into focus, sort of thing. And I'd like them to do something that's away from anything tied to the main thread of the story. So a bit like Knights of the Old Republic, right? When Star Wars did that, so they did the Old Republic thousands of years before any of the Skywalker saga stuff, and obviously familiar things, but nothing at all tied to any of the kind of Star Wars story that we know. So I quite like for them to do that, because I think that's more interesting anyway, because I don't really like prequels that much where you know where it's going. You know what I mean? Like, I think that robs a lot of the good storytelling of games where and shows and other, TV. When you know how the journey ends, getting to the end is sometimes not really that interesting, especially if you start, right at the beginning or even before that. So, I'd prefer them to do a period way back, which is not tied to anything, which just has an independent story, but obviously it's in a universe with things that we know and that it can enjoy.
Definitely. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what they do. I'm sort of new to the Lord of the Rings stuff. Obviously, I know the games. I've taken a lot of.
I forgot you didn't realize there were films.
There was films that I didn't realize existed. I thought the
Have you
TV
watched
show
those
was
yet?
that.
Have you watched them yet?
I've watched The Hobbits.
Okay. That's a start.
I've got the 3 Hobbit films, which have kind of got boring towards the end there.
Yeah.
But I've still got the trilogy to watch, and I've only watched 1 episode of the prequel TV show. No, 2. I watched 2. Sorry, I watched 2 episodes. So I have got them to watch, but I'm kind of knee deep in rewatching Smallville at the moment. So because you never know when Amazon are going to pull stuff off. So I've managed to get to near the end of season 8 now. So
somebody save you from Smallville.
That's
the best part of Smallville. Remy Zero with that song. That's the best part.
It's the only show that I don't skip the intro in.
It's great. It's great.
Amazing.
That and like Buffy the Vampire Slayer's like that theme. Like you never skip that because it's just banger. Just an absolute banger. It just gets you pumped for the show.
But when you're watching, you'd think after watching episode after episode after episode in a row, you'd think, boring. Come on, But no, I love it. I do love it.
Great.
But,
it's great. It's a great song.
But it is on my list to get through. I will get through them eventually. Maybe over the break, I might try and squeeze in a film or 2 because Sky have just put them all on Sky Cinema. So I've not got an excuse to not watch them really. But they're long films. They're not,
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
But then again, if I can sit all the way through the Snyder cut of Justice League and enjoy every minute of it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they're a bit slower paced than the Snyder Cut. But I've watched both. I watched Snyder Cut as well. So I don't know. They're both really long. So just prepare for that. Christmas is a good time to watch them because you've got more time generally. So they are really good. I mean, they still hold up really well, which is a testament to how big budget they were back then as well.
Yeah, they re-released them, didn't they? They're in like Ultra 4K somewhere or other now, aren't they, or something?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You can watch them with all the bells and whistles and the extended versions, which are even longer. So
that's it. Well, we'll see. We shall see. Right, let's move on. Marvel Spider-Man 2 news teased by Venom's voice actor. This is and there's no name on it, but it comes from Insider Gaming, so clearly it's a joint effort, I would think. The next bit of news surrounding Marvel Spider-Man 2 could be coming sooner than you think. According to a tweet posted by Tony Todd, the voice actor for Venom in the game, news is set to drop either on Monday or Tuesday. It doesn't say if that's relating to Monday, Tuesday just gone, because I only caught this story yesterday, or Monday, Tuesday coming.
It's the one just gone, sadly.
Oh, is it? Oh,
yeah.
Well, no news drops.
No news, sadly. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's hope, because he posted. Well, he posted. What was it? November 28th. Big creative news dropping tomorrow. Stay tuned. So he actually tweeted it out, and obviously nothing dropped. All we know about Spider-Man 2 so far is it was announced back in September 2021. God, it feels like a lifetime ago, that. Marvel Spider-Man 2 will serve as a direct sequel to 2018's Marvel Spider-Man. The game will see the return of everyone's friendly neighborhood Spider-Man as he faces new challenges and foes, one of which is being the aforementioned Venom. So I must have missed that. I wasn't 100% sure if it was meaning next week or not. But as you know, we are only Wednesday. There's a chance news could drop anytime at all for some Spider-Man 2 news. Or maybe they'll save it for the Game Awards. Maybe they've re-looked at it and thinking, look, we've kind of got God of War's out now. There's nothing left for us for the end of the year, like first party wise. Maybe some Spider-Man 2 news at the Game Awards, even if it's another cinematic trailer with, maybe something else, maybe a little bit of gameplay or something. It'd be interesting to see. I was quite excited when I first seen it because I thought, we're going to get a release date of Spider-Man. We're going to get a trailer and everything, but obviously that's not the case as of yet. So we'll wait and see. Sentinel, are you looking forward to playing Spider-Man 2? Have you done the first one?
Yeah, I mean, I've done the first one. I got the platinum. Definitely looking forward to the second one. This Tony Todd guy, I guess, was supposed to leak something today.
I don't think
he's leaking anything because he's been uploading music videos all day long. So I don't think he's uploading anything. I think what he was planning on telling people, he was contacted by Insomniac or whoever's in charge of this stuff, and they said, you're not uploading anything. We're not ready to release that yet. So you need to find something else to do with your time and completely act like you didn't say anything. And of course, that's what he's doing, Yeah. But I think that's smart, on Insomniac's part, because it feels like the biggest fault that Bethesda had with Starfield was that they were leaking too much stuff and they were sharing too much information, and then of course when they got delayed, everyone's like, but right now we have no release date for Spider-Man or Spider-Man 2, so it could get delayed and no one would know. No one would know. There would be no outrage, So I think that's smart on PlayStation's part, to keep it close to the chest. Of course, the first Spider-Man was really good. A lot of people, would make comments about it like, oh, the missions are very, generic or this or that. And it's like, it's a huge open world Spider-Man, It's like, that's why they have the DLCs. So it mixes it up a little bit, And I played, I almost beat all of the DLCs. I think there's one that I had to beat, that the last one that I didn't beat. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to Spider-Man 2. I think it's going to be a great game. I don't think it'll be for everyone. And when I say for everyone, I mean basically like that crowd that buys nothing but Call of Duty, Madden, FIFA, they're probably not going to like it. But, for those that do enjoy comic book games, action games like that, I think they're going to like it. I think it'll probably outsell God of War because, of course, you look at Spider-Man and Spider-Man, was selling, 10, 12 million copies or something. So I think Spider-Man 2 will do the same, especially with the hype that they're building for it, which is great because now you have Venom in it and you also have Miles Morales in it. And, of course, with Spider-Man Miles Morales, it kind of gave PlayStation the ability to have an offering in the Spider-Man universe for people buying a PlayStation 5. And yes, it was cross-gen, but it still allowed you to play a Spider-Man game on your PS5. So to have Spider-Man 2, that's going to be fully next-gen, fingers crossed, fully next-gen, it's going to be amazing to see what they can do with it.
I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be cross-gen. I think
it could be, and that's kind of. I guess that's because of the supply. They can't get enough PS5s out in the wild. A lot of people are having to buy their PS5s from, from scalpers and stuff. I kind of ran into this today with the series, and it wasn't with PlayStation. Of course, it was with the Series S. But it was complicated because it's like I went into a Best Buy and I tried to buy this console, and they said, "Hey, we have none in the store." But my wife, using one of those apps on her phone, she was able to reserve one and have the cashier pull it. And allegedly they had none in the store, but yet they have some in the store. So PlayStation is seeing the same thing, And it just seems like a lot of these a lot of these brick and mortar stores are not doing a good job with getting these consoles into the wild, even if they have them somewhere in the back, especially with the PlayStation 5, because the PlayStation 5 does not have a Series S type of console out there that's cheaper, that there are more of them out there. So it's hard for them to get enough PS5s into the hands of people where they can finally say, okay, we don't have to make PS4 games for God of War and Spider-Man and all this stuff. They're still having to make it because there's so many people that are loyal PlayStation fans that don't have a PS5 yet. And it feels like that's why, we're seeing these cross-gen exclusives. But you're exactly right. I mean, it's ultimately up to whether people can get their hands on a PS5, because once enough people have their hands on a PS5, PlayStation will cut the cord and say, hey, we don't need to make it on PS4 anymore. But they're not at that point yet, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think depending how, supply goes, maybe over the next, 6 to 12 months, I think when we get towards the back end of 2023, they're going to say, right, that's it now. We're stopping production. We're moving over.
It makes me feel bad for these developers because they want to build it for the PlayStation 5 or they want to build it for the Xbox Series consoles, and they just want to take off and push the console as hard as they can and pull as much as they can from that console to make the game's graphics phenomenal, ray tracing and everything, truly push it as far as they can to make a truly phenomenal game. And they can't, because with the PlayStation, they have to make it for the PS4 because they don't have enough PS5s in the wild. So you got a studio like Insomniac that I legitimately think could put out a game where its graphics rival God of War Ragnarok on the PS5. But again, you're having to dial it back and make it for the PS4. And then you see what I'm saying? It's just, it feels like I truly feel bad for these developers because they can't make a game to their fullest potential.
Yeah. And hopefully we're going to get into that point where things are pushing forward. We can leave the old generation behind and put, like you said, push these consoles to the limit. Let's get what we can out of them, because it almost feels like the time we get there, we're going to have this mid-gen refresh.
Yes.
And then it's kind of like, then they've got even more power to play with, but then they're still running it for ones that may potentially have more power than still running with the 2.
And then you have games like Grand Theft Auto 6, and Rockstar Games wants it to be on PS5. They want to push that game as hard as they can. But now they're between a rock and a hard place, because guess what? You got to make it for the PS4 if you're making it for the PS5.
That's it. Yeah. And when you've got more your player base there than the PS5, you've kind of got to, you want to get as much money out of it as you can, even though it's harder, more work for the developers, whether they want to do it or not. PlayStation, as well as Xbox and any other game company, it's about making money. And if you can't reach your big player base and you're only getting a small percentage because a lot of them are still stuck with PlayStation 4 because they can't get a PlayStation 5, then you literally, you cut your nose to spite your face by leaving all them people behind. Do you think we're going to see the Spider-Man 2? Do you think we're going to see it at the Game Awards? Do you think when obviously Tony Todd kind of shouldn't jump the gun, shouldn't have said anything because it's some of the saving for the Game Awards? Yeah,
I think probably what he wanted to show was part of what they were showing at the Game Awards. That would probably be the biggest reason, because why would he come out of nowhere and say, hey, we're going to, in a couple days, I'm going to show you guys some great stuff, and then nothing. And he's uploading, music videos from YouTube to Twitter. It's like, are you serious? So obviously someone said something to him. And I think that's because they said, hey, listen, we're showing this stuff off at the Game Awards. You can't show it yet. I mean, and I'm not guaranteeing that they're going to show off something at the Game Awards. Obviously, I'm not an insider, so I don't have that type of knowledge. But it makes a lot of sense that he stops the momentum. He stops all his positivity, and he's like, yes, I'm going to show you guys something great. And out of nowhere, he stops something, and he's uploading music videos. And it's not even new music videos. It's like older songs and stuff. So apparently someone said something to him. And I would bet that we're going to see something spectacular regarding Spider-Man 2 at the Game Awards. I would bet money on it.
I think we're going to see something amazing.
Definitely.
The Amazing Spider-Man. What about you, Luke? Do you think it was Tony Todd was just kind of jumping the gun where he shouldn't be? Are we going to see anything at the Game Awards for Spider-Man 2?
Yeah, I don't know. Because basically what he did was he said he tweeted that thing about, big career thing or whatever it was. And then immediately after, like, people were posting, you know, oh, I hope it's about Spider-Man, blah blah blah, and he started liking and retweeting a lot of that. So that's where people kind of like put it together, you know, to be like, well, something Spider-Man 2 is coming. So I don't know if he's just like, you know, like got it horribly wrong, and it was actually nothing to do with Spider-Man, but he just coincidentally was liking a lot of tweets and stuff and not appreciating what he was doing by doing that. Is it going to be at the Game Awards? I mean, I really hope so. Like, I would love for it to be. Sony always brings something to the Game Awards, so, you know, Spider-Man 2 would be one of the biggest things I think they could bring. I just don't know if it will be. Like, I literally don't know. No idea. Like I said, I really hope it is. Even if they just bring another trailer, because obviously we've seen a tiny sliver of it, but it's only really, really brief trailer. I really want to see what it, looks like. I mean, the original trailer, I think, said it was in engine, and that was just on PS5 at the time. As you say, I don't know if they're going to want to bring it to PlayStation 4 as well. I mean, realistically, it's probably going to release. If it releases next year, which Insomniac have been pretty adamant that it's still on track for that, then it's probably not going to be till the end. And by that point, maybe supply's better and they're willing to cut it off. Maybe the install base will certainly be significantly bigger by that point. But I hope it's only on PlayStation 5, selfishly, because I really want them to. I mean, Insomniac have already shown what they can do when they just have the PlayStation 5 to work with, because they did Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, which is out of everything I've played, it's probably still the most impressive next-gen game out there.
Oh, yeah.
Quite easily.
Oh, yeah, beautiful.
It's an incredible. It's basically like a CG movie, but a game. It's incredible. Uses ray tracing, 60 FPS. It's absolutely amazing. Still go back to it every now and then. If you see me on the PlayStation, like every now and then, I'll just be on Rift Apart just for 20 minutes. Just want to go and have a look at it. It's great.
Have a play
it's
around,
really good.
Yeah.
Have a play around. So I was thinking when it came out, I was like, I can't wait to see what they'll be able to do with Spider-Man.
Let me ask you a question, Luke.
Yeah.
Now, Insomniac is making both Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine is probably not as far along as Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
Do you think we're more likely to see something regarding Wolverine at the Game Awards?
I don't think so, because, as you say, it's further out. It's definitely going to be further out than Spider-Man, and I would just think probably with Wolverine, maybe there's not, like, even if they wanted to, they couldn't give people something to show, like, that was interesting enough. Like, they did that original teaser, but if anything, that showed you how early it was, because it was just a CG reveal, sort of thing. So, whereas at least the Spider-Man 2 one was in engine, and it had a few seconds of in-engine stuff.
Right.
So I think it'd probably be Spider-Man. Again, I mean, I'd love to see more of Wolverine. I think most people would, but I'm happy for them to just take their time with that, and just make it as good as they can.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, so I really hope it's Spider-Man 2. But I don't know. And also, Tony Todd as Venom is one of the best bits of video game casting I think I've ever seen. He is an amazing actor. He played Candyman for anybody who's watched those horror films.
Yeah, I recognise the voice. I was like,
he's got an incredible voice for Venom.
Very menacing.
Very menacing. It's just absolutely perfect. So it's really inspired casting from Insomniac on that one. Yeah. And I just want to see more of the game. I think it's got Kraven the Hunter in it as well. That was that was another villain that was teased in the original reveal. And Kraven the Hunter is just weird but really cool as well. So it's just gonna be great. It's just gonna be great.
Let me pose another question for you. Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine are obviously both being made by Insomniac, and in the original Spider-Man, they teased different Marvel characters, throughout the New York City that Spider-Man inhabited. Do you think there will be any sort of Easter eggs in Spider-Man or Wolverine that hint about the others' existence in the same universe?
I think so. Yeah, I think there would be. Yeah, maybe you'll have something in Spider-Man 2 to kind of just tell you that Wolverine exists in that universe. You know, I think by the looks of it, what Insomniac or what Sony really want to do is they want to get their own kind of video game MCU going, like their own little universe in the MCU kind of broader thing. You know, I fully expect that they'll reference Wolverine in some way, maybe indirectly or directly. But it'd be interesting to see. I'm more interested to see who comes up in the Wolverine game, like who they use in that game. There was a little teaser of in the CG video of Hulk. So I'd love to see. I think that would be super cool. They might just go classic Wolverine, Sabretooth stuff. I'm not too sure, but yeah. There's so much you can do. I think that's part of the excitement about seeing these Marvel games, especially by Insomniac, is seeing who they incorporate. But yeah, there'll definitely be some Easter egg or direct teaser.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah. There's a lot they can do with it, 'cause it's like, especially Insomniac, as they've shown in all the games that they've been doing recently, they're very good at using that performance ray trace mode. Makes the games look amazing. I went back, I played SpiderMan 2018 remastered for PlayStation 5, and it's a beautiful game. It's just stunning game. You can, the amount of do photos in photo mode you can take in. Absolutely amazing. And when that first dropped, that's all you saw all over Twitter and Facebook was beautiful pictures, different scenery, and they're very talented. I definitely say they're in like their top 3 studios of what they can do, and I'm hoping, really hoping that it is PlayStation 5 only, but I think they're still going to just hang on that little longer for PlayStation 4, but all we can do is wait and see. It's another quick shout out in chat before we move on to the next topic. Who else have we had? Good evening, Masuku. I'm not sure if I shouted you out before or not, but hello again, Stubbs. And good evening, Indie Gamer. Great to see you, my friend. Thank you for coming along. Oh, actually, I think can everyone still hear me? Oh, I think.
Yeah, still hear you.
Yeah, all right. No, it's my computer. And my son's messing or doing something, and it's supping up the internet. So I do apologise if I drop in or out or anything. Right, let's move on to the next topic. Final Fantasy 16 has been rated in Brazil, suggesting new release news could be coming soon. This comes from Chris Scullion over at the VGC. Final Fantasy 16 has received a rating in Brazil, suggesting we may soon get more information on its planned release. The Brazilian newspaper, because I can't say the very long word that's there, so I do apologise. Go over to VGC if you want to see the full article. Has determined that the game is not recommended for children under 16 due to sexual content, sensitive issues, and violence. While this rating doesn't necessarily mean the game is due to release soon, it does imply that Square Enix could be preparing to announce a definitive release date in the coming weeks. Final Fantasy 16 currently has an official release window of summer 2023, but the Brazilian rating provides some hope that we might get a bit on the earlier side of that window. But as Scott over at GPGP posted in the Discord earlier, just before we went live, that the game's director is going to be at Game Awards, and with this rating, that I think that pretty much says that we are going to get I'm hoping another gameplay trailer and a release date for Final Fantasy 16. Do we think this is going to be, earlier than the summer? Maybe that April time for a release? Or do we think we might get, gameplay and a release date, but they push it back to later this year? Sentinel, come to you first, my friend. Do you think we're going to get a release date at Game Awards?
Yes, I believe so. I know a lot of people are excited about Final Fantasy games, and it's going to drive the excitement through the roof. I also think a summer release date would be great because you're going to have a lot of people that are out of school, and people are going to be able to devote more time to that.
Do you think that because obviously they've also said that it's going to be 6 months exclusive to PlayStation, so we assume after that it's going to come to PC. Do you also think we may see an Xbox release, or do we think Sony have tied that console down for a lot longer?
I believe we will see an Xbox release in like 2035 or something. Probably not anytime soon.
I tell you, Final Fantasy VII's coming soon.
Yeah.
I'll keep holding that hope up. Luke, what about yourself? Do you think we're going to see Final Fantasy 16 at the Game Awards with a release date?
Oh yeah, I mean, now that the Game Awards have announced, the producers there, making a special announcement effectively. So like I mean, definitely there were rumors before that, as you say, anyway. So I think we will get. It's interesting because they've released a lot of trailers for it now. Actually, we've seen quite a lot. I mean, obviously it's going to be a pretty vast game, but they've been pretty trigger happy with their trailers. So I think what I'd like to see is we've never actually seen an extended gameplay sequence. So I'd really like to see that. Just if it's 2-3 minutes of, walking through and combat and a bit of open world stuff or wide linear stuff, however they do it. So yeah, and then release date, they've always said summer. The game, they've said repeatedly that the game's been done in terms of playable start to finish for quite a long time. So they were just focusing on polishing it, and you can actually see that in each trailer that they put out. Kind of the level of fidelity and polish kind of increased as it's gone along. So it's been quite cool to watch. So I think summer. I think that's a Sentinel said it's a great time to do it because actually, in addition, you rarely have big AAA game releases in the summer, so you can pretty much have that area to yourself in terms of people's cash ready to go. They've got nothing else to play. Obviously, it's only on PlayStation 5, which limits, how many people are going to be able to do that. But I think they'll stick to summer, probably June, maybe late May, something like that. And then they'll release it. And then, I don't know if it'll ever come to Xbox. I mean, it's impossible to know with Final Fantasy anymore, isn't it? Like, it doesn't seem like it, but. Yeah. I don't know what
Final Fantasy hates them.
Yeah, they just can't stand them apparently. So,
what about a stealth release? Do you think we could get a stealth release of Final Fantasy at Game Awards that it's going to drop after the show? Could that be a possibility?
16.
Final Fantasy 16.
I mean, in my dreams, yeah, but I don't think in real life. No. Yeah, I mean, I'd love that. I mean, it would be great in a way if they were like, actually we said summer, but it's coming out like not February because everything's coming out February, but like mid-Jan or mid-March. But realistically, they've already factored in all of their marketing plans and to kind of increase the hype on it as they go along. So. I think I'd absolutely love that. Would be the biggest stealth drop I think in history if Final Fantasy 16, if they were like it's available right now. That would be amazing, but never going to happen.
Yeah, the internet would crash.
It would crash. That would be. I reckon legitimately that would cause issues with PSN if that was the case, because I think there would be enough people trying to download that it would be an issue.
Oh,
but
maybe a prologue.
Yeah. You know what though?
That would be cool. Would be cool.
They should say, "Hey, it's available exclusively on PlayStation Network. You cannot buy it physically anywhere," and just kind of watch the chaos ensue.
Yeah, see it all burn down.
Jim Ryan just wants to see the world burn.
Yeah, but the prologue thing is a good idea actually, because Final Fantasy, like they're kind of like doing stuff like that sometimes. So maybe if they were like, there's a a playable prologue going up tomorrow or next week, and it's just something they've created to kind of introduce players to the world and kind of set up the main story, that would be awesome. Again, I think it's probably unlikely, but I would just be happy with a solid release date and like a few minutes of gameplay footage. I think most people would with that would be awesome.
That would be cool. I think that little demo that you mentioned though if they released that at the Game Awards where they're announcing all these trailers, that would go a long way with a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, speaking of a game that isn't polished and very far in development,
Starfield. My bad. I'm sorry.
That's Game of the Year 2023 is Starfield. Be prepared. Beyond Good and Evil 2 is still in early development. This comes from Tom Henderson over at Insider Gaming. It seems a joke at this point, but several sources have reported that Beyond Good and Evil 2 is still in the blocking phase for the most part, which a few small areas with low resolution textures. The news comes as I reported this past summer. That's Tom Henderson, not myself, via Xbuter. The external playtesting was started for the game. Insider Gaming understands that both external and internal playtesting has continued throughout the summer, with some sources stating that Ubisoft has been expressing that the game is in early development to those fortunate enough to get their hands on the game, as well as internally amongst colleagues and the new people coming to the project. Images and video provided to Insider Gaming under anonymity and under the condition the images don't go public suggests that the game has probably been rebooted since the pre-alpha demo walkthrough shown in 2018, as nothing seen shows the same level of detail. The majority of the images and footage provided to Insider Gaming show bare planets with block structures for buildings. Any structures that had some form of detail were very low quality, almost like the game was being played on ultra low setting. That's a PCMR term for Luke. all the footage provided to Insider Gaming unfortunately looks nothing like the quality of gameplay shown in the video. The spaceships, however, do resemble the official footage shown in 2018. As for Ubisoft, it's unclear how fast the game can go from its current state into a fully fledged title, but I'd estimate we won't be seeing this game for another couple of years. When asked for comment before the publication of the report, Ubisoft said, Beyond Good and Evil 2's development is underway and the team is hard at work to deliver on the ambitious promise. Earlier this year, Beyond Good and Evil 2 overtook Duke Nukem Forever as the longest in-game development title ever. GameIndustry.biz managing director Brendan Sinclair noted in September that Beyond Good and Evil 2's first trailer launched on May 30th in 2008. 2008 when we first got a trailer for the game. Jesus, or announcement trailer. This means at the time of writing, the title has been in development for 5,297 days, surpassing Duke Nukem Forever's 5,156 days fairly easily. With potentially a couple more years to go, we could see Beyond Good and Evil 2 hit that 6,000 mark. So, Beyond Good and Evil 2, they got people's hopes up back in 2018, and it just feels like Ubisoft just want to stamp all over people's dreams that want a sequel and make everyone wait a few more years. Is this game ever going to come out? Is it ever going to be finished? Luke, I'll come to you first.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's like a straight race between this and Star Citizen as to which one will actually release fully. And I think you put good money on Star Citizen finishing and releasing before this game at this point. Wow. At least you can play Star Citizen, right? I can play that right now. But yeah, I think more than anything, actually, I don't really understand Ubisoft's devotion to this. Because the first game was great. Like it was such a really, really good game, really underrated. But it was not commercially successful at all. Like it was probably a flop commercially, actually, to think about it. And I get, when Michel Ancel was at Ubisoft, that this is kind of his dream project, and this is what he kind of wanted to make the first game like. But obviously, budgetary and technology limitations at the time just meant that he couldn't make something like this anymore. And So, but he's gone now, and I don't know why they're so attached to it, because, like, in terms of brand name, I don't really think it's very well known. Especially when you're calling it a direct sequel, like, most people probably don't even know what the first game was or that it existed in this day and age. And, you know, the original vision for this game is kind of cool, but also it's kind of typical Ubisoft shit in that it's just this huge, vast, open universe, really, it looked like from the first game, with no kind of clear aim or objective about it. I mean, I'm sure I heard them talk about, like, some story things they wanted to do, and, you know, some kind of space exploration stuff, etc. But it's not. I don't like it. We don't even really know what it is still. So they must like something about it. They must think it has really good potential if they're still developing it, even when Ansel has left, and even, you know, given how long it's been in development, there must be something about it that Ubisoft really like. But I don't know if that will translate to a good game, because I don't even know what the game will be, or if it will it really release. I mean, they were obviously, Ubisoft have been super dedicated to Skull and Bones, and I think most people would have said before that game should have been cancelled long ago, because it's clearly never going to be hugely successful for them. But the difference with Skull and Bones was that Ubisoft got a pretty massive grant from the Singaporean government, which they would need to pay back if they don't release the game. So it's kind of all you know, sales ahead, no pun intended, to release that, so they can recoup something from it, and they don't have to pay this grant back. So with this, there's nothing like that to common knowledge. So I just don't get it. I just don't get why why they're so, like, dedicated to it. It just seems really bizarre. But yeah, let's see. I mean, I think, you know, conceptually it looks pretty cool, but, like, it's going to be a big Ubisoft game, and I just don't like big Ubisoft games. So, even though I love the first game, it's going to be nothing like that. So, will it release? Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, I think Star Citizen will be out before this game is at this point.
I think Wolverine's going to be out before this game.
Oh, easily.
And that's years away. Yeah. That's years away.
Yeah, even if you put Wolverine at... I mean, bearing in mind how quickly Insomniac can develop games as well, which is another one of the things that's really impressive about them. Even if you said Wolverine's a 2025 game, like, absolutely, there's no chance Beyond Good and Evil will be out in 2025. There's no chance. I mean, it's still like the report said from Insider Gaming. It's still like early development. Like, what's gone on? Like, it sounds like they might have rebooted it at some point. Probably did, maybe after Ansel left, but no idea.
That's it. Maybe the game was too ambitious for what he wanted to do. Maybe there was some creative differences, and it's like, I'm done, I'm going. And they just thought, well, we've already ploughed this amount of money into it, might as well keep going and try and flog a dead horse when it eventually comes out. But I just don't really see, is there a demand for this franchise? You know, I know there's a lot of people who've got nostalgia for it, but, you know, at the end of the day, these companies are in for making money, but if, you know, they're not going to recoup that from the amount of money they seem to be putting into it, it's like, well, what's the point? But we'll see, you know, we'll see what happens. Sentinel, what about yourself? Is this game going to be out in the next 20 years?
Oh, Jesus. I think Grand Theft Auto 8 will be out before this game is out.
We'll still be on the next version of GTA 5 then.
Yeah, definitely. No, you know what? I think Starfield is coming to PlayStation before this game comes out. That's what I think.
Yeah. You're probably right there.
It's just, you know, I think this whole Beyond Good and Evil 2 thing, it kind of is a clear indicator of what's going on at Ubisoft. Now, it's not necessarily that the developers are not talented, but it kind of feels like the leadership there is not effectively managing all these different games, because you look at, like, it took them so long to put the whole Splinter Cell thing back together when people have been asking for it since 2013. You know, it's like, if this was Rockstar Games, they would have had Splinter Cell out already, and that's even with an 8-year development cycle. You know, so Ubisoft is taking way too long for a lot of these games that people want. and it feels like they're trying to figure out the whole MMO thing. They want all these different things in their games, like how the next Division game, I guess, is it's not story driven like the other ones were. It feels like Ubisoft doesn't really know what the hell they're doing from a management perspective. And you have people within the Ubisoft hierarchy that are still very antagonistic towards their workers. We've heard so many times about all this stuff that leaked about some of these employees getting physically or sexually abused or whatever by their bosses within Ubisoft. Ubisoft needs to be bought by Microsoft so they can just clean them out completely, figure out what the problem is, clean out all these toxic leaders, and get it running back on track. That's what it feels like. Even if they didn't give any of these games or even if they didn't keep any of these games exclusive, even if they told PlayStation, hey, you get all these games, we're not keeping them from you, we're just buying it so Ubisoft can unfuck themselves. That's the only reason we're buying it. It feels like that's the only way Beyond Good and Evil 2 will ever come out, is if a huge corporation buys them and fixes all the problems internally that they can't.
Yeah, I just think it's just going to be one of them. It's just going to get further and further into development hell. And it's just going to be one of them projects that they're just going to keep saying, yeah, we're working on it, but it's just going to take a backseat to everything else. And yeah, it's taken a while for them to get around to Splinter Cell. But you've got to remember, you've had Sam Fisher in a lot of games. He had that mobile game. He was in. He was in a mission in Ghost Recon. And they were doing a battle royale. A battle royale.
All right, BMG. So this is basically like your woman wants tacos, and you're like, you're getting her like flowers that smell like tacos, and you're getting her taco flavored pizza and stuff. Eventually, she's gonna have enough of that shit, and she's gonna go get tacos by herself. It's like if she wants tacos, you're gonna go get tacos. So it's like if the people want Splinter Cell, don't give them Splinter Cell in a mobile game. Give them Splinter Cell like proper.
I think that mobile game got shut down as well, didn't it? Yeah. It didn't last long. It lasted a few months and they closed it.
It's like Ubisoft is throwing all this shit at the wall to see what sticks, and it's like, stop. It's like your fans, your gamers, the people that follow all these franchises are telling you everything you need to know. All you have to do is be like, be like a lot of these successful corporations like Rockstar Games listens to what people want. Listen to your fans. They will tell you exactly what they want and just give it to them, and you'll sell 10 or 15 or 20 million copies. That's it. That's all there is to it. It's not rocket science.
I remember when EA did it, when everyone was raving about wanting another Mirror's Edge, and they came out and said, we're making Mirror's Edge for you, for the fans, because you wanted it. Comes out, it was a flop. Nobody liked it. It didn't do commercially well even. It's like, well, you gave what you wanted, and clearly you didn't like it. So, and they moved on. So, maybe they look at this and think, EA had that sort of issues. Why should we give them Splinter Cell just for them to shit on it?
EA also gave us no single player campaign with Battlefront 1. They did with Battlefront 2. And then after that, they gave us Jedi Fallen Order that had no multiplayer in it. After it was only single player, after EA was joking about single player games were dead. Now they're giving us single player games because they started listening to the fans. That's the key. And it's kind of like Ubisoft is not, they're not learning. They're not listening. It's like, all you got to do is listen to your fans, and they'll tell you what franchises they want. They'll tell you what they want to see in those games and what they don't want to see in those games. So listen to that, take it under advisement, hold that as like the gospel truth that you need to make your entire game around, and all this stupid shit that could make you money but piss people off, leave that stuff out. That's all you got to do.
No, they're not going to do that. We hear what you say, we know what you want, but we think you'll like this better.
And that's probably why they're going to get acquired by Tencent or Microsoft or Embracer or somebody. Somebody's going to buy them because they're just going to crash like a meteor.
Well, I don't think they can't do it. It won't be Tencent because Tencent bought a stake in the Gizmo brothers holdings, didn't they? And they've got a small percentage of Ubisoft, but they can't buy any more, increase their buy. Is it for 5 years or 10 years or something like that? There was something like that, wasn't there? There's like a whatever it is, they've got a limit before they can buy more into it. But I'm actually surprised Ubisoft hasn't sold it, because it's like earlier this year, late last year, they were kind of touting that if someone came and gave us a serious offer, we would be open to, negotiations.
And the funny thing about that is Vivendi was trying to buy them, or at least by controlling stock, and the Ubisoft brothers, I don't remember what their names are, they were fighting tooth and nail to keep Vivendi from buying because they wanted to stay independent. And now they're saying, oh, if someone came along and wanted, it's like, I mean, it's you either want to stay independent or you want to be purchased. Which one is it? Because Vivendi was ready to purchase you.
I'm wondering though. I wonder if they're having the same sort of issues as like Square Enix. Square Enix have been shedding, obviously, studios. They're changing the focus on what they're doing with the games. They want, they've publicly come out and said we want, people to come in and help fund games and stuff, and maybe invest and things like that. Maybe Ubisoft are sort of seeing them kind of same problems with like development costs and things, and not publicly saying it, but trying to attract people.
I kind of feel like these companies already have in mind who they want to be acquired by. Square Enix and PlayStation, it's pretty much a given. You got Ubisoft and Xbox. They want to be acquired by them. I say to hell with it. Let PlayStation acquire them, because it's like Final Fantasy is extremely close to being an exclusive PlayStation franchise anyway. It's close. Might as well just seal the deal and make them all exclusive, because at least there won't be any question about, is the new Final Fantasy coming to Xbox? No, it's PlayStation exclusive. There you go. Full stop. And that's it.
Yeah, well, I wonder if like next year because obviously, hopefully, this ABK deal eventually comes to an end at some point, one way or other next year. Maybe the Sony fans win. You're going to see Smooth Eyes Jim Ryan stood on top of a hill with a Sony flag, with his bare chest ripped out, hair flapping in the wind, victory, and Microsoft can then move on to getting other stuff. But whichever way the deal goes, hopefully it's over soon, and then they can start looking at these things. Maybe, maybe I don't think there would be any talks yet, would they, Luke? Because of obviously all the Microsoft acquisition teams will all be on this, won't they? They won't be branching out anywhere else, I'm assuming.
No, not at the minute. They'd be a bit silly too, I think, at the moment as well, given all the scrutiny over the Activision stuff. So, they'll be. I'm sure they'll have a list of things that they want to do. Whether Ubisoft are on that, I don't know. But maybe they are. I doubt it though, because I think by the time you get Tencent involved in some of this stuff, and they have pretty not hugely significant shareholdings, but certainly beyond the brothers, a pretty significant shareholding, you run into difficulties in trying to kind of get that stake out of Tencent, getting them to part with it, because clearly Tencent's really, really, really want to buy Ubisoft. Like, I think that's very clear. They at least want a majority stake. So I think it might be pretty difficult for Microsoft to do that, or anyone, in fact, who would be interested.
I wonder though, could they go down instead of trying to acquire the entire company, publisher, developer in one go, what about just getting a controlling stake in it, just getting the Guillemot's brothers stake in it? Is that an option Microsoft would kind of go down, or would it be, no, we want full control of everything 100%?
Yeah, well, I think there's two bits to it. So, like, I think probably Microsoft wouldn't be interested in that, because, as in the stake element of it, a controlling stake, because even if you have a controlling stake, it doesn't necessarily mean you can do what you want. It makes it a lot easier. Really, the control is at board of directors level, so it depends on how many directors you can get on the board. Well, what would that look like? The difficulty is probably that Tencent are pretty clever, so if I was looking at it, and I would imagine this is what they've done, they've probably got some sort of preemption thing in there, which means that if someone comes in who tries to buy more shares in Tencent, they can't until the shares are offered to Tencent first. So it basically means that Tencent can't be diluted out of whatever stake they have at the moment, if that's 5%, straight through the holding company, let's say. So, it's going to be really hard, I think, and like, will the Gilmore brothers want to sell anyway? Like, it doesn't seem like they're still that interested. What they really want is what's happening at the moment, which is they want equity, but they don't want to give up control of the company. And Tencent are more than happy to do that, because that's what Tencent have always done. Like, they very rarely acquire companies, if you notice. They just get equity stakes.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I do want to bring something else up, because we know some of these Saudi Arabian groups are also looking into investing in the gaming, the gaming industry. Do you think they could possibly invest in Ubisoft and challenge, the majority shareholders?
I mean, I guess they could. I mean, like, some of the Saudi groups, like PIF and stuff like that, they have an enormous amount of money. So it's not as if they couldn't come in and say, we really want to buy you, Ubisoft. We're going to make a pretty aggressive offer to do that, including you, Tencent. We want to get your stake as well. But just because you've got a load of money doesn't mean that you can just kind of force your way in on that stuff. So,
right.
Yeah, I think like the Saudi kind of group, I wouldn't see them buying like Ubisoft or someone like that. They might go for someone a bit off kilter, and work their way up. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's difficult with Ubisoft because they've always been pretty anti-takeover, basically. Anti-dilution of Gilmore's stake. That's all they really care about. So I don't know what they actually want to do. I know that they've said they're open to, potentially being bought in the future, but everybody is at the moment, because game development's really expensive, and if you can have an owner that's super, super, wealthy, then you don't really have to worry about this that much. And shareholders, get a really good payout right now.
Yeah.
So, I think we'll have to wait and see. I think as well, the problem you've got at the minute in the acquisition space in general is that typically, apart from Microsoft, Tencent to some extent, maybe a couple of other, Sony in certain cases, and probably the Saudi groups, they're the only ones who can really do an entirely cash-based acquisition or cash/equity.
Right.
Everybody else has to finance through a mixture of equity and debt, and nobody wants to take any debt at the moment because the interest rates are so high across the globe. So
right.
it's worthless doing that. You see deals all the time that are just just tons of deals at the minute just paused because people are trying to figure out how do we make this work? How is it economically viable given interest rates? So apart from your Microsoft, who can just go, we've got a load of cash on hand, like we can just make this work. It doesn't really matter. And in fact, it's a better investment to put your cash into something now that can make you more money, that can beat inflation. So, it's a difficult market to be acquired in at the minute for that reason, apart from if you're looking to sell to your big cash boys, basically. So,
right. Okay.
Right. Well, let's move on. A bit of sad news, really. Entire Callisto Protocol playthrough leaked on Twitch. This comes from Graham Tom Hill over on Insider Gaming, which is very sad. Days before it's been released, it's been leaked, but here we go. It's been a bad to worse week for the Callisto Protocol, which has seen leak after leak bleed through online, ultimately leading to the entire game being effectively spoiled. It was revealed just hours ago that the full game has been leaked on Twitch stream, detailing everything from the opening seconds to the final boss and closing moments of the game. We're just days out from the official launch of the game, which drops on December 2nd, but this is still a blow to the creators, Striking Distance Studios. There's an embargo on reviews for the Callisto Protocol that is in place until the day the game officially releases, but with these leaks, people are already making up their own minds. at least the leaks are revealing the fact that the game looks fantastic. So in that sense, it's good that it looks fantastic, but it's also the shame as well that it's managed to leak online. Now that the entire game has been leaked online, no further harm can really be done, but it's a sour situation for Striking Distance Studios. It seems that these days, nothing is safe. Even the most top-tier, biggest budget franchises are suffering from leaks. You can now watch the full gameplay playthrough Callisto Protocol online. Bit sad news, really. It's a shame because from everything that they've actually revealed and shown of how much has actually gone into this game, how beautiful and gory it looks, that atmosphere, that fear that it brings in. And it's a shame, literally 2 days before launch, that it got leaked online. Leaks are never good. All these people that break embargoes and stuff, and then they wonder why they can never get games again. But what's your thoughts on it, Sentinel? Is it a game you were going to pick up and play? Is it knowing now it's leaked? Has it put you off the game?
I feel bad for the developers, because obviously this game getting leaked, it kind of spoils the surprise they had intended for everyone. Me personally, I'm not going to pay attention to any of the leaks. I'm not going to really watch any of that stuff. I think it does kind of suck for those people that might be tempted to check it out. It is on my must-buy list. It is a game that I wanted to pick up, and the leaks don't really matter as far as me wanting to pick it up or not. But it's just, it really sucks for the developers, because it's kind of like, and I think the God of War Ragnarok, some of that got leaked, before launch as well. So it's just, it's uncalled for that people have to leak this stuff and spoil the surprise for everyone.
Yeah, it's a shame. A lot of time, effort, passion have gone into these things, and they want people to be able to enjoy it together at the same time. But now it's all leaked online and on Twitch. You're gonna have to avoid YouTube, because you're gonna see thumbnails that are showing like bosses and things like that. It just becomes like a minefield. It's same with God of War. Literally, anything where you saw a beard and a bald head, you disappeared. You didn't want to risk seeing anything. It was, and I was able to avoid everything. And I'm glad I didn't have it spoiled for me. But there will be people that are going to click these links. They are going to see this, and it's just going to ruin the game for them. And if I had an entire game ruined for me, I would be in two minds whether I'd pick it up or not. But the fact that it is being leaked out, people are watching it, and everyone's saying it looks absolutely fantastic and amazing. Like them clips they showed with, real photo with the in-game engine photo, and they literally looked like for like. It was hard to tell the difference. It's just amazing. Yeah. What about you, Luke? Is it something you're going to pick up? Haven't had out spoiled for you yet? Have you managed to avoid it?
Yeah, no, I've managed to avoid it so far, which is good. I'm not as worried, I guess, about this game being spoiled as something like Ragnarok, because even though story is an important part of this game, clearly, it's not as if Ragnarok was like a culmination of the first game story being amazing, and then knowing that it was kind of ending the Norse mythology arc. So it was real, and it's such a story-based game that it's so fundamental to, I think, the enjoyability of the experience. So that was really important. And actually, I was sort of semi-heavily spoiled for The Last of Us Part 2. Again, through no fault of my own. Didn't go out searching for this stuff. It just popped up. But since that day, I've been really vigilant about being spoiled about things. So God of War Ragnarok, I'd muted it months in advance on Twitter, for example, way before the release date, and just stayed away from anything. Saw threads on Reset Area when people were saying it's been leaked. We'll just be extra vigilant everywhere you go. But sometimes you can't even, as you say, you can't avoid it, because just YouTube will suggest a video and it's just a massive spoiler. And you're just like, why? But with Callisto, some people have been posting some little gameplay clips, completely non-spoiler, just of the game, because some other people have got it early as well. But it does. It looks really amazing. Like it looks really, really impressive visually. And I've always, been super hyped for it. It's been probably like top 5 most anticipated games of this year. So I can't wait to pick it up on Friday and just experience it. I think the playthrough. One thing I did see is I think it was like 14 hours. That's how long it took to complete the game. Which I think is a really good length, actually, for a horror game. Kind of Dead Space 2-esque, that, maybe a bit more, actually. So I think that's really cool. And, impressions seem to be really positive about it from the people that have played it. I did see some footage, funnily enough, of the PS5 version, which has... and the 2 different modes. So one of them is... it has a performance mode in it at 60 FPS, which is great. And it has... a ray tracing mode as well. One thing which was quite, which is obviously 30, but the ray tracing one was quite interesting because actually, like sometimes in some of these modes, especially on console, you look at the ray tracing mode. Like I'll give like Forbidden West as an example. The quality mode on that, there is there's barely any kind of drop in game assets or anything like that from the quality to the performance mode, and even the image resolution, like it's imperceptible on that. It's like really amazing what they've done in terms of, I mean, you've played it, so you probably know, but the performance mode is amazing. It looks amazing and it performs amazingly well. With this one, actually, there's a pretty clear visual like drop off from some bits of the game, from the quality mode, the ray tracing mode, to the performance. And I don't think that really matters because that's just entire preference at that point. But I thought it was interesting because it suggests that they're actually, really trying to push visuals in that quality mode, and they just, wanted to make some sacrifices to get it to 60 FPS, which I don't know which I prefer. Like, I mean, ideally you have a Horizon Forbidden West scenario where like the performance mode is just basically the same, but at 60 FPS. Yeah. But this one, it seems like they've kind of gone, no, actually, we will try and push visuals a bit in this other mode, which is cool. But the coolest thing is that it's got multiple modes, right? Which is just really important now that people have a 60 FPS mode, particularly on console.
Yeah, definitely.
I won't be playing it there. I'm playing it on PC, obviously. And I'm just praying that it's a good port. That's all I'm praying for. I'm just really hoping it's a good port, because if it is, I'm going to really enjoy that.
Yeah. I can only imagine what your PC is going to do with Callisto Protocol. But we'll have to keep an eye out for the videos. Yeah, it probably will do. But we'll make sure everyone keeps an eye out for clips and that on Twitter, because I'm sure we're going to see some beautiful photos of the rig in the game from Luke. Right, so we are running a bit short on time. So, and there's just one panel question I want to get to, but before we get to that, we'll just do this one here that Sentinel put in for us. Games coming to PlayStation Plus Essential on the 6th of December that run through till January the 3rd. Mass Effect Legendary Edition, PS4 version. Biomutant is PS5, PS4, and Divine Knockout PS5, PS4. I wonder why they haven't. I thought there was Mass Effect Legendary Edition was optimized for the newer consoles. It's strange how we're only getting the PlayStation 4 version, as it shows here.
I thought. That is weird. I thought it was the PlayStation 5 version as well. That would be quite strange, wouldn't it? Like if it's the PS4 version.
I'm wondering if maybe it's just like it's a typing error, maybe.
Yeah.
It's just an error on that part, because why have the other two cross-platform, and then Mass Effect being the biggest one coming out that you hold for PlayStation 4 only doesn't really make sense. So, but then again, because obviously you've got EA Play over on PlayStation as well as a separate subscription, maybe they've said, no, you can have this version. People want to pay more if they want that version. But I'm assuming it's a typing error, so I'll check that out. We'll get back to that. Sentinel, what do you think to the lineup for next month?
It's amazing for PS Plus subscribers. I think it completely knocks Games with Gold out, like one hit. It's not even a contest. It's just like, and it's it's great for PlayStation users. Obviously, I feel bad for people that still only have Xbox Live Gold because it's absolute garbage compared to PlayStation Plus. But PlayStation Plus, it seems like, has been regularly, almost always consistent with the higher level of quality, especially this generation. And to see, essentially, you're getting 5 games because the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, of course, is all 3 games and all the DLC that was ever released for the Mass Effect games 1, 2, and 3. And it's, like I said earlier in the podcast, it's 120 hours of content. So that's 3 full games. In addition to Biomutant, what just came out last year, and then the last title, I don't recognize it, but thrown in there with the other 2 titles, it's a phenomenal lineup. It's really great that PlayStation is offering PS Plus subscribers such phenomenal games as part of the subscription. It's outstanding.
Yeah, no, good. That's it. Yeah, I'd like to say I've not heard of Divine Knockout myself. I'm assuming, some people have played it out there, but I don't know if it's an indie game or not. But yeah, I think it's Mass Effects. Like, that's the biggest one I think they've got, and to have it over for Christmas break as well. Because obviously there are a lot of people that don't have EA Play on the PlayStation side, or they don't have Xbox and Xbox Game Pass. So, it's quite good that, if you've got basic PlayStation Plus, that you're going to be able to play this game. And it's not just one game, it's the 3 games with all the DLCs as well. Sadly, not the multiplayer, because that wasn't carried over to the Legendary Edition for, I'm assuming technical reasons or whatever. But yeah, it's great to be able to have that, and it's definitely will take your holiday break up, that's for sure. Luke, what do you think of the games that they have announced?
Really good. Yeah, awesome. I think Sentinel nailed it. It's just it's really great if you're a PS Plus Essential subscriber. I think, Mass Effect's, the remastered trilogy was awesome. So even though I've played it, I played them all at launch, played the remastered trilogy as well, I'll still pick it up, because it's in my subscription, and I'm sure at some point I will, play it again, probably on there. So I think that's cool. And then the others are really good as well. It's a really good month. They've had a few really good months, actually. So I hope they keep going. The one thing I would say is that I just wish they would improve the premium offering.
Yeah.
Because, like, for all the good they do at the essential level, it does not translate over into the premium stuff.
No.
Which, you get some, like, the premium stuff just seems to focus on, like, classic games, like PlayStation 2 stuff, which is cool to an extent, but actually, when you're paying £14 a month, like, it was weird because they got off to a really good start in the first month. They had Stray, which was like a really great game to have in there. It kind of gave value immediately to the month, but since then it's just not been good at all. Like, it's really not been good. So I just wish they'd improved that. But on the, like, essential level for the games that you get to keep as long as you're a subscriber, really, like, they just keep doing really well with it.
Yeah, it's like, as well, like the extra tier, PlayStation Plus Extra, it's always got some good games cycling in and out. If I think Assassin's Creed Valhalla's in there, but that's dropping out next week, I think. So if no one's played it yet, you're not going to have time to finish it regardless in a few days. But it's definitely worth playing. It's the premium. I just don't think it was worth it. I did consider jumping to it, but there's just not enough in there. I don't think what they offer for these, these older games that they offer in the service, I don't think it's worth the price.
No,
it just doesn't. And, and they're taking games out and putting 1 or 2 in that nobody wants.
Yeah.
And it's just a shame. So hopefully we see an improvement on that. I hope, make sure you do get them games, whether you don't going to play, if you're going to play them or not, add them to your library, because then you'll always have access to them as long as you're a subscriber to PlayStation. Right, we'll move on to the last thing. It's just a panel question, really. I thought we'll end the show this way, just for something a bit different instead of ending it on news. And it will come to you first, Luke, being our guest. If you was introducing someone to gaming on the PlayStation platform for the first time, what game would you pick to best show off what the PlayStation can do? And you can go back any. You don't have to just do
go back any. Yeah,
this. You can do any of the PlayStation consoles you want. Even go to the Vita superior handheld if you wish.
And when I'm showing, the one question I have is, when I'm showing these people, are they in like the time period that's from? So if I showed them something, let's say from PlayStation 3, are they dropped into that time period? So they haven't seen anything that's coming. It's just then.
They've never played any PlayStation console. It's the first time. So wherever you drop them in, that is them seeing it for the first time and playing.
Right. Okay. I think in that case, then the game that I'd probably show to people would be Uncharted 2, which is on PlayStation 3.
Very nice.
So because that actually, like, let's just assume that they've not like that they're back in that time period, right? I've dragged them back. They don't know anything else that's coming for the rest of time, basically. That game is still to this day, I think it's the best action adventure game ever made. Ragnarok is really close. Like, I go between them, like thinking about like which one's better. But in terms of impact for me, like Uncharted 2 was, that is like the perfect PlayStation game, because I think that set the template for, other PlayStation games in terms of, in fact, really just set the template for action adventure games generally. And action adventure games are the thing that PlayStation does the best. That's one of the best games ever made. And I think it encapsulates everything that PlayStation do really well. Amazing visuals for the time. Gameplay was really great. Set pieces were incredible. The music was great. The story and acting was just above anything, like pretty much everything that was releasing around that time. It was just big blockbuster, big budget gaming done in an amazing way. So that's the game that I would show people. I'm
gutted because I was going to pick the exact same game.
Well, you're actually going to pick it. Yeah, I thought you were going to be like, what is ridiculous? It's Ragnarok, and I wouldn't have disagreed. But like, I was thinking about it, and I was like, if I could go back and show anybody like the game, it would be Uncharted 2, because I think for most people that's the one that were like, oh my god, like this is just so much better than like everything.
Yes,
at the time, it's so much better. Like Ragnarok is legitimately, I think, like and other games that have released recently for PlayStation as well. Like, I mean, some people disagree, but Last of Us 2 is up there for me as well. But like, those are all like could legitimately be like some of the best games of all time, easily. But I just think, like, in terms of impact, I don't think there will to get even near the level of Uncharted 2 is an achievement, I think.
That's it. You've said everything that I was going to say, from the story to the action set pieces, everything it does. It's an amazing game, and it is probably, even though I played some great games on the console, there's games I love, and I always say, it's my favourite now. But Uncharted 2 is my favourite, top of the list always, PlayStation game today. I love that game. It's amazing. The story, the action, how one sequence rolls into another, and it's an amazing game, amazing, and I can't agree more. And
I always remember as well, like the village. When you go through the village in it, like, and there's no action. Like, that was one of the most amazing. Like, people, like, you go and watch that now, and you'd be like, what? Like it doesn't look that great now, but at the time, like, you would go through that village and you could interact with things, and people would be going about their lives in Uncharted 2. And it was like mind-blowing, the amount of detail at the time when you were playing that game. Or like the obviously the train sequence. The bit I loved the most was the helicopter set piece with the fight, and you're going roof to roof, and like physics are going everywhere. The roof starts amazing, absolutely amazing. But yeah, I'm surprised. That's great that you think the same thing. Like I'm
exact same,
really shocked. Exact
same game.
Are we going to go free for free with Sentinel though? Is he going to say Uncharted
2? It's in my. I would say Uncharted 2 Among Thieves is in my top 3 PlayStation games of all time. Obviously, I love the Uncharted franchise just because it feels like you're basically in a modern day Indiana Jones game.
Yeah.
Or and it's like some people like that, other people don't. They complain, oh, it's it's too linear. I don't give a shit about that. It's a great game. So Uncharted 2 is a phenomenal game. It's not my pick, but it is phenomenal. I would say, and this is, I guess it's, my own, me being a fan or a fanboy, I guess, of the God of War franchise would have to be God of War 3.
Oh, that was a very close second for me.
Yeah, because with God of War 3, it's like you took what happened in God of War 1 and 2, and with the PlayStation 3 being a brand new console, you really showed graphically what could happen. The violence was off the page. Kratos was completely unhinged. And then, of course, you have Pandora pulling him back and bringing him back so he can find his humanity, if you want to call it that. Because up until this point, God of War 1 and 2, he's just completely unhinged, where he doesn't care about anyone, and he's just all about vengeance. But then Pandora is bringing him back, and she's teaching him about hope, And the entire story was just so phenomenal, and it was such a truly badass PlayStation 3 title, especially when it came out.
Yeah. Oh man. That was really close, because again, that the story isn't as impactful for me as Uncharted 2 was, but it was still great. But the thing about God of War 3 was, again, it had that it was so impressive, and it was just it was basically like a Mad Max game, but without Mad Max. It was just complete action non-stop, start to finish. Yeah. And just some of the set pieces in that, like the Kronos boss fight, when you're between his fingertips like this, absolutely climbing up on Gaia while you're fighting Poseidon at the start of the game. Yeah. The Zeus battle, Hades. There's so many epic moments in that game. It's such a great game. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was an amazing game. I enjoyed the God of War series. Like I say, 3 out of the original games, 3 was the best. Really enjoyed it, but I didn't proper connect with God of War until God of War 2018. That's when I fully connected more with the franchise, and which has led me on to loving God of War Ragnarok. But again, amazing games, played them all. Gore galore, it was amazing. What they did was brilliant, and obviously you could see the budget behind it, especially with 3. And we've not seen anything quite like that since with the series. It's kind of gone more grounded in a sense, and in a way. But
it's quite hard to do. I think that's what they said though, wasn't it? They were after 3, they were we can't. You can't go any bigger than the stuff they were doing in 3, so they had to almost not just reboot what they were doing in terms of the game, but the scale of it had to be kind of dialed back so they could build. And Ragnarok shows it's much bigger in scale. Some of the boss fights are really close to that God of War 3 level and stuff like that. But they couldn't. How do you go from the Kronos boss fight? What do you go to next? You just can't. You can't do it. There's nothing. You can't go bigger than that. So. Yeah,
but no, like I say, it was fun. It would be a bit of a different thing to end the show, something different. But I just the minute you said Uncharted 2, I thought that's the game I was going to pick. Oh no! But
it's all right. You can choose it as well. Better. So
it's probably my number 2. It's probably my number 2.
Yeah.
It just kind of set that level for where the games, the games that they've made have gone, and as some people say, not naming anyone, that all PlayStation games are the same. But when you've got perfection, why change it?
I wish they were all Uncharted. If every game could be Uncharted 2 level, and even if it was the same game, but just another Uncharted, and it was the level of Uncharted 2. I'd be quite happy with that.
Well, have you heard about the new project that Naughty Dog is working on? It's more in the sci-fi vein, but it has a new protagonist, and it's you kind of hope that it's going to be that level of quality that Uncharted 2 was when it came out.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly I hope they're doing a new IP.
It's called Stray Cross. I mean, they called it. It's like the code name, I guess. And they were talking about it right after they released Uncharted 4. We haven't heard anything since then, obviously, but I'm hoping we hear something soon because the premise, sounded really interesting.
Yeah. Whatever they make, I'm in for with Naughty Dog. I just think they're amazing.
Yeah.
So.
They're one of them world-class developers. They know what they're doing. Stuff.
Yeah,
and that's it. Well, yeah. Well, on that note, we shall end the show. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you, to my co-host Sentinel, and thank you, Luke, for coming as well. It's great to have you on and say welcome to your first PlayStation podcast.
Thank you. Yeah.
So that's it, and hopefully we can see more of that on GPG as well. Get more of the PlayStation side in there. But
yeah, just need people to buy PlayStation 5. That's all.
That's what we need.
You need to see the greatness. That's what they need to see.
Play has no limits, people.
Exactly. That's what Jim says. Anyway, I don't know.
Yeah, Jim's his uncle. Just in case you didn't know Jim.
Yeah. He's a good family member of mine. So I've been helping him with all this with all the CMA stuff. So
right.
He's enjoyed that. But no, thank you for having me on.
Jet.
Yeah, I'm on that. Yeah, I organised a flight to Brussels. Who do you think it was? Wasn't you? So yeah, thank you very much for having me on. Very much enjoyed it. Always a pleasure, and Sentinel Night, a pleasure to be on a podcast with you at last as well. So properly. So that's been really cool. And it's been nice to talk. Greatness. There's no limit over here. No limits. No limits. So do you want to tell everyone where they can find you? Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll just keep it pretty brief, but it's at LUKE STEELE 90 on Twitter. I'm also on the Green Pass Gaming YouTube channel, where we do podcasts there, and also on the Indie Game podcast with the Indie Gamer, who's great. So go check all of that stuff out.
Awesome. And Sentinel, my friend, my co-host, my compadre, where can everyone find you?
Well, in addition to being on the PSN Party Podcast, I am also with BMG on the Stasis Chat Podcast. You can definitely check us out on YouTube. I'm always posting links, usually the day before, on my Twitter channel. Twitter is S3NT1N3L17. Sentinel 17, it's alphanumeric, and my Twitch is the same. I pretty much live stream every day, so you can check me out on Twitch as well.
Oh, brilliant. Well, it's been a fun show again. Thank you for everyone coming. This has been episode 4 of the PSN Party Podcast, and we will see you next week when we've got special guest Stubbs Gaming on with us. So that should be a good show. Hopefully his internet will work. He does say some bad things about PlayStation, so Jim might not have it, but we'll see. Other than that, good night, everyone. Thank you.
Take care.